views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to Small Steps, Big Breakthrough Radio with Sara Loos. Sara Loos introduces us to her unique style that is creating massive transformational results for people across the globe in this hit show. If you want to propel yourself towards big breakthroughs of your own, make sure to bring your playful, magical self to the party as Sara turns reality on end to experience expansive results with simple yet powerful steps. Step into enlightening minds, empowering hearts, expansive results. Blame, doubt, and fear are not invited.
Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Pat. I'm here with Sara Loos. We are taking on small steps, big breakthroughs with Sara, enlightened minds, empowering hearts, expansive results. You know, Sara, today we're taking on your stories, fact, fiction, or fractured fairy tale. Now, I know for you, your life, the work that you've done is helping all of us just compassionately create visions and then enacting them in ways that we probably aren't even aware of. But your focus very specifically is energetically on a higher consciousness of making things happen. And today's show is right along those lines, but more specifically, how are we going to be able to make some adjustments in our story, right?
Absolutely, Pat. Yeah.
Good to have you here.
Thanks. It's good to be back.
So, you know, this idea of stories, let's talk about it. I know the first thing we were going to talk about is one of my favorites, liar, liar, pants on fire. I can't tell you how many times I heard that. But, you know, we know what that means, right? In a sense.
In a sense. I think that's the most powerful part, in a sense. So what I really want to talk today about is this concept that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, is that we basically, each and every one of us, myself included, live a lie, which is like, if you hear that and you really take it in, you're like, what? But it's the truth. And I think our spiritual path, this path, if those of us listening and participating today really are on this path of expanding our consciousness, I'd love to get into what that really means. And that's really about, I read this great article that Bruce Lipton wrote, that science is proving that we are pretty much 90% run by our subconscious mind, which is our habit mind, instead of our conscious mind. So I think our spiritual path is about, when we say we want to expand our consciousness, it's coming into the place where we actually control these things that happen in our lives. One of the things we least control, unless we actually crack it open and heal it and work with it and change it, is the story we tell ourselves. And I'm going to use the word story just to keep it simple. We all have, you know, we have this track running that is, this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is what is valuable to me, and all that. And all of that actually comes, we're not usually aware of it, it's embedded in our subconscious mind, and it's as a result of what happened to us because of our upbringing, our parents, you know, involved in that, the culture we were raised in. It's really fascinating. Like in the first 6 years of your life, the majority of what you're going to believe about yourself, and therefore the story you're going to create about who you are and what you're capable of, gets embedded. And unless you're willing to kind of crack that open and go, what I think is happening, what I believe to be true isn't true, then you're probably running around telling a lie about yourself and what you're capable of. So it's powerful.
Okay, I have a story to share.
Okay, good.
Okay. I didn't know I would have this story to share. Okay, so Benny knows this, that I play table tennis. And when I was younger, I played what one might consider to be professional table tennis. And that's really playing where you hit the ball really, really fast, right?
Right.
Like you see like on the Olympics and those folks. So here's the story I've been telling myself. Are you ready? The story I've been telling myself is every day, every time I go to play, I play on the weekends, is that, you know what? I am too old to expect to play even close to what I was playing. So here's what happened to prove your point. And it's a long story, but I'm going to make it short. I walked in last week and I saw this box on the table, and it was from Japan. And I opened it up, and it was a wood. It didn't have any rubber on it, of a paddle. And the gentleman that runs the place I play at walked over and said, "Yeah, that's a great wood. Are you looking for a new paddle?" And I said, "Yeah, because I cannot find my old one." He said, "Great. I think this would be good for you. It's going to change your game." Got the paddle. He finished it. Amazing. I had it Saturday, and he was playing with me. So the story I've been telling myself is that I'm not in great shape because of my age. So therefore, I'm not going to be able to play. Here's the thing. I changed one thing, that paddle. And the person I was playing with, the guy that plays really well, couldn't return the ball. I think that's the kind of stories you might be thinking about, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And ones that are like, that sounds so joyful and I'm so happy for you. Like how fantastic to have that breakthrough and go, no, I'm not really getting old and being hampered. So if I took that even deeper, I wonder where else that's affecting your life. Because that belief,
Exactly.
that's what happens. It shows up in one place. And then if you really start doing this work, you start realizing that story gets repeated in other places. So for you, it started probably in the paddle tennis game. And if you're really honest, Pat, you're probably saying it to yourself in other places in your life or hearing it in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes it distorts itself ever so slightly because it's going to say, so it's all about like, and where did you get that idea that with age comes deterioration of your abilities to do what you love and you're great at?
Right. But isn't that a great example, though, of how we talk to ourselves in so many different ways? But also, what is the effect on having other people talk to us and distort our reality?
Absolutely. Well, that's the sad thing is because the majority of us, so there's another great quote I love. So Earl Nightingale said, whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and we nourish with repetition and adding emotion, that ultimately becomes our reality. So you could have two people exposed to someone who, let's say there's a negative teacher, right?
Yeah.
And in the classroom, there are 24 kids and they all have the same teacher. And one of them is very affected by that teacher and what the teacher says. Like the teacher is really harsh and critical and whatever. And that child takes it very deeply personally. And the other child, actually sitting 2 rows over, is motivated by that teacher and doing fantastic. Now, the teacher may have a belief that this way of teaching is actually motivating her class. And she doesn't see the one child sitting at the back whose head slumped and is just really wounded and gives up. But the point is, it's because we can have the same experiences, but how we classify it, how we take it in is what really is our story. That's the part I want to crack open. So this kid that's sitting at the back of the classroom, really wounded by the way this teacher is teaching, probably has a tape running that is, you're worthless. You're stupid. You're not able to learn. So somebody said that to them. They heard it over and over again. They start adding emotion to it. That's hurtful, painful. It's probably true. And it becomes their story. And as the child grows up, they feel they're worthless, useless. They're never going to be able to learn. And that's how those things start. So we have to be very careful, especially as adults, what we say, especially to children. And if we're role models, watch your words, watch how you present yourself to people and your opinions. And if you're, using media like social media today, I'm just amazed, and regular mainstream media, the commentary that's coming out of adults' mouths and the perspective that we're casting, we affect each other. So it's just to be mindful of, like, we're planting the seeds. We can plant the seeds for negative, or we can plant the seeds for positive stories being built. Right?
Yeah. And one of the things you talk about is that our stories, especially our life stories, are less factual and than what we come to believe. And I think that you're right about society and social media. We actually look for stories that validate us or not. We don't selectively say, I'm going to take that story that validates that I'm an amazing person. I'm also going to take that story that validates that I'm not an amazing person. Isn't that also a factor in what we create?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, psychologists say that 70% of what runs through our head are negative thoughts. We tend to feed the negative more than we feed the positive, unless we change the program. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
If you think about it, 70%.
It's a lot.
Story. Yeah. And so it takes over for most people. Excuse me. For most people, we find it takes over their life. So,
And Sara, let me ask you this. It not only takes over our lives, but what it does, it creates a story that perhaps isn't true in terms of our potentiality, right?
Oh, that's really the point. And that is the point. And I want to pause on that. That is the point. So whatever, anybody who's listening to this, whatever you believe about yourself, what I hope is that this episode today, that we'll actually get to show you how to change your belief system about who you are, what the story, the tape running in your head, your narrative, your own personal narrative, so that you can find how capable you really are and the potential that's waiting inside you. Because you frequently, most of the time I find, you have to find it for yourself. Every once in a while, there's a really stellar story about a teacher who saw it and pushed it out of someone, or a mentor. You have to be wanting that, like willing to give up the old story so that you can find your potential. And I think every one of us wants to be the best we can be. Just, we don't know how to get there. So one of the first steps is be willing to give up the negative story.
I love it. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more with Sara Loos here. We're going to tell you how you can find out more about her. Okay, here it is. Heroes and antagonists. Who are they? How do you see yourself in terms of another? And we were just talking about the Easter egg hunt yesterday. Who buries an Easter egg so the kid can't find it? Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Tune in to the hit show Mouthing Off with Chef Rossi. Chef Rossi mouths off about different subjects in pursuit of breaking down walls and opening up your minds. She and Dr. Pat banter back and forth, taking from the headlines of the day on subjects that reach beyond what goes on in the world into your hearts. And go to theragingskillet.com to find out more and let Chef Rossi know what's on your mind.
If you're dealing with fear and anxiety, you've probably noticed that the more you fight these emotions, the stronger they seem to get. Dr. Friedemann Schaub, the author of The Fear and Anxiety Solution, explains that instead of suppressing, we need to identify and resolve the deeper subconscious root causes of fear and anxiety. His personal breakthrough program has helped thousands worldwide to overcome their emotional challenges. To learn more, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com and schedule your free consultation with Dr. Schaub now.
How would you like increased health and vitality? How would you like to avoid the onset of disease as well as slow the aging process? This is all possible through a simple, safe, and natural process. Every day we are either moving toward wellness or away from wellness.
Hi, I'm Mary Jane Mack. I'd like to be your partner in achieving optimal health. Contact me now at maryjanemack.com or call 425-392-0659. Visit MaryJaneMack.com.
Tune in to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly Neff. This hit show will illuminate your senses and empower you beyond your daily stressors and hardships. Renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly will captivate you with far-reaching topics and amazing guests as you wake to the greatest version of yourself. Learn to tap into your intuitions, think critically about our world, heal emotional and psychological wounds, and follow your passions to live your dreams. The Lucid Planet. Welcome home. Visit lucidplanetradio.com for more information.
Miss any shows during the week? Don't worry, we've got you covered. With the free Transformation Talk Radio app, you'll have access to all of the past week's shows in the palm of your hand. Tune in to Transformation Talk Radio anywhere you go with our free app for any of your devices. Check out our app in the App Store and Google Play Store today.
TheAngelLady.net. 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 1-800-323-1790. 1-800-323-1790. Sue Storm. TheAngelLady.net.
Hey everyone, it's great to have you connect with us. I'm so thrilled to have all of you tune us in and turn us on. For more information about me, go to thedrpatshow.com and Transformation Talk Radio. Sara, before we talk about, heroes and antagonists, what is the best way for folks to find out more about you? Tell us more about your upcoming workshop, all of the above.
Awesome. Yeah. You can go to my website. It's just my name, and it's Sara, Sara, and my last name is Loos, LOOS.com. So SaraLoos.com. And if you like what I'm talking about today, all about diving into your story, and you want to deep dive, and you want to work with me in person, I always find that, personal facilitation just makes things happen a lot faster. I'm really attuned at reading beyond the words that you're sharing. I'm having a workshop that's all about diving deep into your story called Get Your Story Straight. And that's going to be in Los Angeles on May 20th. And I'm also going to make myself available that weekend for personal one-on-one sessions, private sessions. So go to my website, SaraLoos.com, and you can learn all about that.
I love it. We're talking about heroes and antagonists. And I think that when we hear that language, we know what we mean, or we at least have a sense of what we're talking about. Very rarely do we see ourselves as that. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about this in terms of, when we are in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do we create? And then who do we blame for creating it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the majority of people, unless you're actually involved in some kind of spiritual practice, it's why we do it. I just want to take a pause and say that. A lot of people have literally asked me, why do you do this work? And I'm like, well, and when we use a lot of language, Pat, like expanding our consciousness and stuff like that. And, the mainstream world doesn't know what we're talking about.
Right.
We're pretty isolated. But we do this work so that you can actually shed all of the layers of stuff that keep you from being the most brilliant, beautiful version of yourself that you can be. And I genuinely believe we're all here as light beings. We're all spiritual beings, living in this human form. So it's about doing the personal development, personal growth work so that you get rid of all the stuff that holds you back, right? And being in that capacity means that you're very conscious of what your imprint is at all points in time. And you're also taking responsibility for what you're experiencing, because we create our experience, either mostly subconsciously, mostly from, as I was saying in the beginning of the segment, mostly from imprints from when we were a child, what we ended up believing to be true, what we ended up believing, valuing, and ultimately like our behavior. When you really are willing to sit down and open up your story and see the influences that created that story, it's powerful. Then you can say, okay, I choose something different. And now as adults, it's like, who are we imprinting on? If you're a parent, then it's taking massive responsibility for how you're raising your children and the values and the beliefs you're giving them. And I just had this wonderful experience of having a conversation with one of my clients who's become a dear friend. We facilitated her through a big breakthrough in her story about a week ago. And I want to tell her story later today in this segment. I hope we'll have time. But it was wonderful because she said, Sarah, it never occurred to me until we went through this exercise of the sayings that my parents had. Yeah. Like, don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about. Just as an example. It was like, how painful. There are so many sayings and so many, even fairy tales. I mean, this is all about fact, fiction, or fractured fairy tales.
Right.
If you if you read the fairy tales and sing the lullabies, they're dark and twisted. It's like, why do we let that be part of our culture? Those need to be revamped. I'm just saying.
Well, and even in today's modern culture, when we're looking at the revamping, if we can call it, we're looking at the revamping. We have to start at a place where we explain, at least to, the children that are growing up, okay, honey, that was a movie you just watched.
Right.
That was a movie. Right.
Right. Because my goodness, what we are exposing kids to now, just mainstream media, like the barometer of what's okay is dropped, in my opinion, way down in the mud. And I don't mean to sound very provisional or anything. I'm not, but I mean, it's really down there. Like people can get away with anything. In our family, I use a phrase often because I have 2 teenage girls, and they're at a wonderful place in their life now where they're, being exposed to adulthood. And I am constantly having to say different families, different rules. I'm willing to take a stand that I don't care if those families do that and they let their kids see, R-rated or even worse movies or go to a certain concert or show or whatever. I'm like, no, because I always say, and I really believe this, Pat, I vividly remember a movie that my dad let me watch. It was a Western movie. I'm not going to get into the story, but there was this very violent scene in it. I was young and he had no idea that it was going to be so violent. I can't take that out of my head. Right. It's a picture that stays. And I always say what you're exposed to affects you. So choose what you're exposed to, And that's what's going on a lot today. We're exposed to so much stuff that we actually become numb to what it's actually programming inside of us. I genuinely believe that to be true.
Yeah. Well, you help people, first of all, explore what are the most important stories that run our lives. I shared one little story about age, and it isn't even a story that, oh, I'm old. That's not it. But it's a relative story. And it's a story that, oh, gee, maybe I can't do things I used to do. Well, the reality of that was not true. But that's not the story. That's not what it was. How do we get at what these stories are in terms of our value, money, relationships? And what do we do? Do we take them all on? How do we begin?
Well, I really believe, thank you for asking, I really believe there's a couple of key steps. One is you have to decide to be perfectly, completely still and present. And the reason I say that is because I really genuinely believe that you're given answers and solutions all the time. You have to be willing to be present to see the solutions. So, like one of the solutions is I'm here talking on the radio with you today. Somebody out there is listening and they know that I could be a resource for them to help them with their story. Just saying. But you got to be willing to tune everything else out and go, I am going to be present and get the equipment I need to change this, right? The second thing is that you have to be willing to let go of your story. You're willing to, and a lot of times that means forgiveness, and forgiveness is hard for a lot of people. You've got to be willing to let go, and you want a new story badly enough that you're willing to let go of the old story, make room, right? Yeah. And the third step is that you're really genuinely so fed up that so I always say isolate one story at a time, because You just got, you could take on way too much. Isolate one thing at a time, work with that, then move to the next, right? A lot of people that I work with, I find when they're out there trying to do this work on their own, they're reading lots of self-help books, and they're, going to blogs, and they get all this great information, and they don't find that they move forward. And the reason you don't move forward is our brains are actually programmed to do the same thing over and over and over again. It likes familiarity. So unless you know and have assistance to like decode or deprogram your habitual patterns, nothing's going to change. So take one thing at a time, isolate everything that you can, all your energy to changing that one story, and get help doing it. So the story, right? Yeah. And then the stories that I keep hearing the most that happen, if they sound familiar to people, what I've come and butted up against, I really love helping women find their power and find their truth and find the joy that is within them and is their birthright, right? I always talk about that. Yeah. And the things that get in women's way the most are validation, like they don't feel they have value. Also, they don't usually feel that they're seen or heard. Those are really painful ones. There's also inability to be loved, like not being able to like go stand in a relationship for longer term. And then obviously creating and maintaining being respectful and resourceful with money. Those are the key things that run over and over and over. So those are the ones that I deal with the most. And they're amazingly powerful when you crack those stories. But pick one and figure out what is the one that I always say it's like a shard of glass. Like you can clean up the kitchen, you broke the wine glass or whatever. And months later, this shard, like you find it, you're like, God, where'd that come from? And that's the spiritual work. That's when you're like, okay, that butted up against me again, and I'm not going to take it anymore. So find the one that is the most painful. What's the pain point that you're dealing with over and over and over again? And choose to isolate that and work with that one now.
I love it, because this is something where we're saying we can make these changes now, and we can get some help making them. And that's what I hear you saying. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk with Sara about, wait a minute, now that I've decided I'm going to pick that one, and I'm going to really make that change. Where do we begin? How do we do it? And how does Sara help so many people do this in a way that's powerful and transformative? Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and Transformation Talk Radio.
A word of caution: if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
Wow. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. This is Talk Radio to Thrive By. I'm telling you, I got to pinch myself some days, because when each of us gets called to do something that we so not thought was in our wheelhouse to do for a purpose that's so much greater than us, we get to show up and shine.
If you would like to show up and shine on the Dr. Pat Show as a co-host or sponsor, send us an email to inspire@thedrpatshow.com.
Gifted intuitive healer and spiritual teacher Sara Loos brings her unique style to the hit show Small Steps, Big Breakthrough Radio on transformationtalkradio.com. Tune in each month as Sara turns reality on end and shows us how to experience expansive results with simple yet powerful steps. Expect an enlightening bend on what you currently believe is possible. For show details and upcoming topics, visit saraloos.com. That's SARALOOS.com.
Calling all moms, it's time to awaken your vibrant, intuitive, loving self in every area of your life. Join host Debbie Pokornik as she shares thoughts, stories, and tools to help you stand in your power. Listen to Vibrant Powerful Moms helping everyday women create extraordinary lives. Mondays at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. For more information about Debbie, visit empoweringenergy.com. That's empowering with letters NRG.com.
Every day is another opportunity to bring magic into our world and create the reality we want to live. Intuitive Juliana Solovia and the Lady of Light New Age Boutique are here to help you on your journey. Whether you're looking for a reading, a workshop, or a class of the latest and unique metaphysical products or jewelry, the Lady of Light New Age Boutique has it all. Visit inspirednewage.com to schedule a session or class and feel the energy of the Lady of Light.
The dawn is breaking, a light shining through.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. I love this conversation. I love what we're talking about here. Your stories, fact, fiction, or fractured fairy tale. And each and every one of us knows what this feels like. We know the stories we tell ourselves. We do it in so many different ways. And, Sara, for you, you are working with people and helping them not just break through, right? But understand that this is something you can take one step at a time, figure out one thing, make that change, and then go on to the next if you choose to. Now, please tell folks about the upcoming events that you have. I think this is great.
Yeah, well, the one that I'm really focusing on right now is a workshop that is going to happen on May 20th down in the Los Angeles area. And it's called Get Your Story Straight. And it's going to be a deep dive into these stories. And it's a very small workshop. I always have them very small so that we can be intimate and I can get very deep into helping you facilitate massive changes in the way you talk to yourself and how you end up experiencing reality and getting to a really great new place. And for some people, they don't like group workshops. So just so you know, I also do one-on-one facilitations, private mentoring, and I do that for either 3 sessions, 3 months or 6 months increments. And massive things change when you have someone that's able to read beyond the words and really sense your pain and your energy and help you find the tools and the strength to change your story. Yeah.
Very, very important. I think each of us that has gone through this understands the power of it. And I think that we know when we're carrying stories that are not serving us in more ways than not. This next part that you're going to share with us has to do with, wait a minute, now that I've figured out I've got a story, I don't know what to do with it. I know it's painful. I know it needs to heal, but I'm not sure where to go with this.
Yeah. So, my goal for anyone listening and all of my clients and friends is to be a source of what I always say is I'm trying to help you build your toolbox, meaning that you can read a book that has lots of stuff in it. And, like I said, read blogs, whatever, if you're on the spiritual path. You need to figure out what tools work for you. And so I'm really encouraging you to build your own toolbox of things that you can resonate with and that make changes for you. So in each segment, I like to share a couple of tools. And 2 of my favorites in this category are, the first one is a heart exercise. And I'm going to explain it to you, and I hope that each of you will participate along with me. I'm going to do this more quickly than I typically do, but I would encourage you to play with it at home and do it more often. Most of my clients find it to be exceptionally powerful. There are many ways to do the heart exercise, and most important is you have to be quiet and still. And I like to take my hands and put them over my heart, skin to skin. And we always close our eyes so that we eliminate distractions, and it allows us just to be more hearing the internal voice of God that comes from within. The other thing I'm going to say to you is in each of these situations, I'm a spiritual teacher. I am all about that I'm not doing this alone. And so I would encourage you, just tell your mind that it can actually be quiet and allow God, Spirit, Universe, Creator, whatever word you use for it, that you can be willing to listen to the voice of God, to the voice of Spirit, and allow it to give you the guidance you need. That your mind doesn't have to participate in this. It's okay for it to be still. And so once you've gotten that quietness and your hands are over your heart, you breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth a couple of times. And typically we use the vibration of AH, which is ah. Every sound you make actually creates a different vibration in your body and therefore a different energy. So you exhale and you just let it go. You can either do that melodically, like with a song, like ah, or you can do it as ah. Either way, whatever works for you. So you're going to inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. You're going to do that 3 times. On the 4th breath, you actually exhale and you just let that ah sound come out. And you're going to do it several times. So it'll sound like this. I'm going to just jump to the 4th breath. I'm going to do just the ah sound, and I'll go ah. 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 And then after that, you sit very still and you ask the question. And in this case, the question you would ask is, what is the truth of my story? What's really the truth? And then you just allow yourself to be very still and quiet and listen. Now, again, for the sake of time here, I'm going to jump ahead and just say, if your mind is talking, you have to go back and quiet your mind. Just settle down. I'm choosing to hear my heart. I choose to hear my heart. And allow yourself to just receive. That's the point. And trust in blind faith that you're going to be given the truth of the answer. It's super powerful. I actually use the heart exercise for a lot of purposes. It's one of my favorites. The second one that I use is super powerful as well. And these are the two in combination that are just like crazy powerful. We always need to understand, I say to my kids all the time, the truth is there are always 3 sides to every story. There's your perspective, the other person's perspective, and the truth that's in the middle. And it's not just in the middle, it's above the middle. And so what I like to do is an exercise called God's perspective. And so what you have to do is, again, you sit really quiet and still and you close your eyes and you just imagine, let's say it's about someone. Let's say it's about your mother. Okay. A lot of women have mother issues and it's about your mother. So you get really still and quiet and you just imagine in God's eyes, like let's first start. We imagine you sitting there and you imagine your mother sitting across from you and whatever the story is running, this energy running between you. And then I'm going to ask you to just literally imagine you disconnect from your body and you get to hover up and above the story, up and above your mother and yourself, and hang out from God's perspective. And the best thing you can do from this as well is to really engage your heart. So you take your heart, I think I've taught this in one of the other segments that I did. You imagine from your heart, you're just sending your mother the most love you can send. Like you shut your eyes and you imagine that your heart is this ball of light that is just booming love, pure love straight towards her and you, and just surrounding you together in this ball of light that is nothing but unconditional love. And stay there for a while. And from that perspective, say, what is the truth? What is the truth of my relationship, of this story that I keep telling myself. And then just be, again, still and willing to listen to what you receive. Because the truth is always, like, especially from God's perspective, you'll have so much more compassion and empathy. Your mother probably did things that she only repeated because it was done unto her, and it was all she knew. And there's this beautiful thing that happens as adults when we can forgive and get that our parents are human, that the people that were our influencers and mentors and coaches and everybody else, they're only human. And they're probably repeating what they know and value and believe, unless they also consciously chose to change the pattern. And what's crazy is once we choose to change the pattern in our family, we change 7 lineages forward and backwards. It's like, I end it today. I choose no longer to have this kind of energy around mothering. Therefore, I won't mother this way. And my children's children won't mother this way. And there can be love and it can be healed. It's crazy powerful. Yeah.
It's powerful in ways that maybe folks right now would have a hard time understanding. But the sense is that we are not being driven by what we carry with us anymore. We're not being driven by it. We're not executing life from that perspective. That's really what is so magical about this. It's being to learn beyond what we can see with our eyes and know that healing can happen, isn't it? So we can walk freely.
Absolutely. I love what you just said, beyond what we can see. Because we don't get, like, what's so beautiful about this gift, that when we do this work, it changes us in ways that you can't touch or articulate. I frequently talk about it's beyond words. And that's what's so powerful. Our language literally can't articulate how it changes us. But some of the ways I'll explain, because people frequently go, well, what does this work do? Like your testimonials from clients, what are they talking about? What are they saying?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is beyond your words, your capacity, because it's something that you currently don't understand. But there's just this lightness in the way everything feels.
Mm-hmm.
There's this, like, I talked in one of my other episodes about being untethered. You literally just have this release and lightness that whatever comes your way, all of a sudden the trigger points aren't there anymore. Or they might show up. I want to get back to that.
Right.
It's frequent. You and I were talking about at the break,
Yeah.
It's like frequently people think, oh, I got the story. I knocked it out. Okay, good. I'm good for life. And that's not the way it works. We know
No.
Different stories get teed up because it's their turn to heal. It's time to heal that piece of our story. And it's just this ongoing process. But when you can get to the point where you actually enjoy it. So the way I love to work is I try to make it simple. I try to make sure that people come with enthusiasm and curiosity and know that, like, instead of facing this, I know a lot of people go, I don't want to do this because, like, I went to therapy and it was like, I stayed depressed and I just felt like I just always talked about my negative stories. And they talk about, like, I don't want to talk about the negative stories anymore because then I'm attracting more negative stories. That's not what we're doing here. I want to be really clear. I had a client say that to me last week. I want to be really clear. That's not what I'm doing here. What I want to make sure is that you understand that when you can find the source, the shard, and pull it out, it can be that fast. Pull it out.
Yeah. And what you're talking about is this is the time now to change our lives. This is the time to change our lives. I want to make sure that we have enough time today to really share all of this message. So let's go ahead and skip the next break. This is about saying yes to creating the life that we want.
Absolutely. There are so many people out there that are hearing this who literally, I'm good about money, can't fathom how much better their life could be. They just are assuming that it is what it is, and they're going along like in a routine, like in a rut, just going, yeah, this is all I got. Or maybe I'll go every once in a while to a worship service or something and feel good, and then I'll come home and then I'll be back in my rut. Or they're, talking to their angels on occasion and doing some of the great work that many of your speakers and co-hosts and hosts are talking about. And then it's compartmentalized. And that's that. It's like something that it's like going to a sports event and watching a game and then coming home and you're not attached to that game anymore. It was something that you witnessed and participated in seeing. But they don't take it in and use it. And that's what these shows are about. That's what Pat's entire platform is about. And I really encourage your listeners, engage and take it in. Realize the effect that these simple tools, the power they can have in creating a life way beyond your imagining, way beyond. So some of the things that happen, I've had the craziest stories. One of my clients last week had this massive breakthrough. She recognized that she had been holding on to this story that came from her childhood and the way her parents talked to her. It was a little bit about what I was hinting at earlier in the segment. And she realized that she'd been holding on to this belief that she could not be seen or validated, and that therefore with that she had no worth. There was nothing really of worth for her. And she is a woman who is so incredibly talented, and she's trying to open up her own business doing intuitive art, and she's brilliant at it.
Wow.
But she keeps sliding backwards, and she's so good at it. And I'm just like, you got to push through this. So where is this coming from? And all of a sudden she remembered and identified that it came from the way her father talked to her. Well, then the crazy thing is that she realized that it was repeating that pattern, that belief system was showing up in the way her husband was treating her, at least she thought now,
Wow.
the way she interpreted what he said to her about was she going to spend their money to invest in her business. And we just found that it was showing up also in friends, relationships, and how friends were treating her. And I said, do you get that this story, this belief that you're holding has literally taken over pretty much every aspect of your life, and it's suffocating you? And when she recognized it, and we did a few things, to facilitate her popping through, she was blown away. And since then, I'm so proud of her. She's actually found a studio in her local area where she's going to start doing these intuitive art facilitations. She did a live Facebook video, just pushed through her fear and said, I'm doing this because I want it. I'm passionate. I want my life back, or I want my life to start, right? And like the things that have happened to her in a very short window of time. And it's just from really embracing the power of these tools to make changes. And I'm just blown away. I'm so proud of her and so happy for her. And I know she's going to be a great success. Will she hit some other bumps in the road? Absolutely. I'm going to help her with those. It's okay. But she is all of a sudden finding the courage to be who she was put here to be and to do her life work. That's the other big one. We usually are terrified to do our purpose work. And most of our stories are built around cocooning us from doing what we were put here to be. I have a very similar story. I know I have a ton of time, but I have a very similar story about myself, and I'd love to share it quickly.
Yeah, please do.
I was a corporate person working in New York City and then LA, and I just did high-end corporate marketing advertising. And I kept knowing that I wasn't happy and I wasn't on my path. And I won't get into all the stories. That is going to be one whole segment. And I just kept I always say, you always are given clues. You're always given solutions if you'll just be quiet and listen or be aware and pay attention. And I just kept being given clues that I had a different life path. So long story short, I found out that I do intuitive healing, and it comes naturally to me. And people say I've done it for many, many lifetimes. And I vividly remember things like that. And I know that scares some people listening. That's your stuff, not mine. That's what I'm here and I do. And I'm great at it. And I say that humbly because I don't do it. Spirit does it through me. And, but I got in this place where I had this story that if I did my work, my husband would leave me, that he didn't believe in me, that I couldn't do this work. Well, it got exaggerated to the point where I actually had heart issues. I had heart failure a few years back, which is truly, they call it broken heart syndrome. And I realized I got through that and went, what are you doing, Sarah? Your story about how you can't do this work. And it would literally I'd rather die than not be here doing this work. No, thank you. Let's change that story. How about you believe your husband supports you, believes in you, and even though he may not be choosing the spiritual path you're choosing, that's okay. You're here to do this work. And after that, everything started changing. I popped through and had the courage to do a lot of things, build a website, start my workshops more publicly, and out of area. I got clients. I started marketing going, I want clients from around the globe. So I had clients coming in from Europe and whatever, because most of my work I do by phone. But I had to believe that I am truly here to do this work. And now I get it. I am. And thank heavens I changed the story. Your story can physically affect you.
Yeah.
Very much.
Well, even, you and I do this every day. And, there's a reason that I have a show like this. And there's a reason that we launched Transformation Talk Radio is that, it doesn't make us exempt from having these real things show up. Everything from how do I know this is mine to do? I love the other one that shows up a lot, Sarah, and that is, what kind of gives you the right for you to think that you're the one to do that? I mean, aren't these all voices we hear in our heads? And I love that you said if we go back in time, we could probably trace where some of this came from, right?
Oh, absolutely. For myself, I have a lovely mother. And just the way she was raised, she's to this day, she devalues herself over and over and over and over and over again. And, growing up, I remember going, Mom, don't talk that way about yourself. But, it's hard to change her at 80 years old. But I had to realize that like her message to us as children made it like, especially the girls, there are three of us girls that, that whole like, who do you believe you are to do this kind of thing? It's like, that was like, 'cause you're a girl, you're not supposed to, no, because it was, she was a nurse and she thought doctors were powerful and that she literally, her body and everything like kind of slumped when she talked about the doctors as if, they were so much, what I mean? They like put them on a pedestal, but I'm just down here and I'm just like doing my little thing. And I'm like, no, woman, you are powerful and you have a story and you have gifts. And she does. She's got a beautiful gift that she's doing now. She has kind of a card ministry. She's in her 80s and writes beautiful cards to shut and other people to just give them hope and praise. And it's like, she's always had that light inside, and she had to like go through some really crazy things to realize that even that small, like writing a card, changes lives, lights people up.
Yeah,
you gotta recognize what's holding you back from where your light's going to shine, right?
Well, I not only love that, but I love that you help people with this, because I know for me, I've had to get some help to really figure out what are the potholes I'm stepping in. Please, what a great show today. I'd love for you to share about what you've scheduled for people that they can participate in to change their lives.
Yeah, one of the most important things I can say is just, reiterating what Pat just said. I'm on this path because I had help too. I had amazing teachers that I worked with who taught me tools and helped me. It's almost like midwifing from a spiritual sense, midwifing, birthing, whatever it is that you need to birth in yourself. So one of my favorite things I do is one-on-one private mentoring. I do that by phone. It is amazingly, amazingly powerful. I say that humbly because, again, I don't do it. Spirit works through me and does it for you on your behalf. And those can be scheduled if you go to my website, go to the private mentoring page and just check that out. And again, I do those. I start with 3 sessions or 3 months or 6 months. And I'm also offering the workshop in Los Angeles. And if you'll stay tuned to my website, go back and check it often. There's a lot of workshops coming up, many of which are online. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities to have the tools to build your own toolbox and to have your personal breakthrough.
Wow, I love it. Please give out your website again. And thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you, Pat. Yes, my website is saraloos.com. It's SARALOOS.com.
I love it. And I'm Dr. Pat. If you've missed any part of this, Sarah's going to have the entire show up on her website, but also stay tuned because this will play again later on right here on transformationtalkradio.com. Sarah, thank you so much. What a powerful show today.
Thanks, Pat. Thank you.
All right, for all of you out there, stay tuned for another hour of Transformation Talk Radio coming up right now.
You've been listening to Small Steps, Big Breakthrough Radio with Sara Loos. In each show, Sara helps us destroy sabotaging beliefs and behaviors to rewire our thinking and launch us to embracing what we're capable of creating. Expect an enlightening bend on what you currently believe is possible. Tune in each month on transformationtalkradio.com. Don't fret, if you've missed Sara live, visit saraloos.com and download the podcast. That's Sara, LOOS.com.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.